What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another adventure with the Bearded Bobber. And today's adventure actually is not dealing with what I'm dealing with. We are installing a new Indian adaptive headlight on Nikki's beautiful 2020 Indian Chief. But there is a lot more to come with this bike later on. What I want to talk to you guys about today is my 5 big mistakes on my first big trip. Yeah. Well, let's dig into it. Alright, so number 1, and I have to give a shout out here to Curtis from Indian Rider Radio for answering this question before I did it, and I still made the mistake. Now, he said, whatever you have packed, take out half. And it was one of those like, what do you mean take out half of what I packed? I bought a brand new bag, I have saddlebags. This is the whole point. No, he was right. I know Lawson and I were talking about it, and it was one of those like, yeah, we packed too much. Because you're going on a trip, even though the trip was 12 days, you can wash your clothes on the road. You can, we had a washer and dryer at our B&B. So we had those things at our hands. But not only that, of course, we're going to an event and we want to buy t-shirts, or we're going through dealers and we're going to buy t-shirts. So these are the things that you don't think about on your first trip, and these are mistakes that happily I made, and hopefully won't make as bad the next time. But also doing moto vlogging and filming, I have one of my saddlebags filled almost completely with a camera bag. Luckily enough, it is a small camera bag, and it was carrying 3 GoPros, a DJI, my big Canon, which I didn't get to use as much as I'd like to, because it's a beautiful shot, big camera. It takes amazing photos, but also gets really good, scenery shots. And you guys could probably see that in the cabin in the morning where I'm getting all those shots. I really like that camera, and I really like that setup. But it's something I didn't think about. Like, it's big. You got to take it out. You got to do all these things. So if we're pulled over, I have to take all that stuff out of the saddlebag that I did get tucked around my bag to get that camera out, just to put it all back. And that's one of the hard things when you're on a trip. So number 1, I packed way too much stuff. Alright, so number 2. My lip got sunburnt. Yeah. Weird thing, but it's in the sun constantly, and it was just it got sunburnt. I said it to a couple people, and they're like, what? So it either was insanely dry, or it got sunburnt. Not a fan, but we did remedy about halfway to the way home. Stopped, got some chapstick for the dry lips, so I'm gonna try and tie those in. I had those as a bonus feature, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And so I threw a chapstick in the little cubby on the Challenger, and I was able to keep on going. All right, so that's number 2, random thing, but it was something I did make a mistake of not having. Accessibility of keeping my lips from getting dried out, and also I didn't block it enough because of the sun. I had the rest of my body covered. I thought about that with my riding shirts. Even if I was squidding a little bit and going down to a riding shirt, I had my skin covered. So, and one of my riding shirts actually has a thumb hole, so it goes under the glove to get all that wrist space covered up too. Because when you're spending 10 days in the sun, or 10 hours in the sun a day for a couple weeks, you're gonna get burnt out. All right, let's get on to number 3. So number 3 for me, if you guys have been following, I got that new Saddlemen's Step-Up seat for the Challenger. I love the look. It's not a touring seat per se. It's got the gel. It's great, but I didn't get it installed in time until right before the trip. So day 1 of 656 miles, I was breaking in a brand new seat. Not a good idea, considering when I got to Elko, Nevada from Yucaipa, California, I was numb. I had gotten up at 3 in the morning and rode all the way to Elko, Nevada. So by, I think it was about 5 o'clock that night, and just numb for a while. So don't make that mistake. If you get a chance, break your seat in before your big trip. I would say unless you're on a bobber. If you're on the Indian Scout bobber, change that seat beforehand, break it in, whatever you got to do. It's going to probably be better than your stock seat. We've done the trips before, but I'll take one of my Corbins on that trip right away. Even a step-up seat from Saddlemen before the stock bobber seat. Alright, so number 4 and number 5 to me kind of blend in together. And so number 4 to me is a simple one. Slept in too much. We still may have gotten on the road at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. But some days we probably could have got a lot more out of the day if we would have got up at 5 o'clock. It was nice to be able to sleep in, but at the same time, you know, because no matter what, even when we were leaving at like 8, 9 o'clock, we planned our day to where we got to the next hotel around 4 or 5. So we were making really good time even on those days and catching sleep. But you kind of hinder yourself on longer breaks and stuff like that. So like for me, the next time I do like a really big trip, I'd like to make it where I can make more out of the day. So getting up early, I think, would help me in that aspect. So let's jump right into number 5. And that's not stopping to look around. And part of the reason is not you want to get to your destination because you are making so many stops on a week trip. You know, we're taking 4 days to get there, 4 or 5 nights there, 4 days back. So you give yourself plenty of time to do that. But if you're not stopping to look around, like we made time for Yellowstone, that day was 250 miles for the day. So instead of having a 450 mile day, we had all this time to do stuff. Like we did give ourselves time for specific things, but there's so many things that you come across randomly that you don't really get to see. Now, that also to me would be leading into like we were in Deadwood and we barely got to see Deadwood. So if we would have maybe done a couple little things differently, we could have saw it more. And I'm saying like in general, like that would be, had a great time. It was so much fun. But now looking at the next one, you know, hindsight's 2020. This is what I'd like to do, you know, and make things a certain point. Give myself extra time for things, and sometimes just as long as you're getting enough sleep, because you want to be restful on a motorcycle trip, which that we nailed. I mean, we nailed that. We got that. Got plenty of sleep and got good sleep. Almost everywhere we went, you know, fantastic places to sleep. You know, different than being at home, but you kind of get used to it, I think, the longer you're on the road. You know, I'm really used to fan noise, and a couple of places like the AC didn't even make a damn noise. Just one of those things. And I think that's just easily something to think about. You don't think about like, oh, I'm going to come across these small gas stations or a beautiful lake and, you know, places to take pictures. And I'd say take the pictures. So, like, you know, take the time, take the pictures. It's stuff you're going to look back on. Not necessarily take the video. There is a lot of stuff that I didn't capture on video for this trip, but you gotta live it too. So taking the pictures, I think, is not something as invasive. You're not like, oh my god, you know, you're the person with a camera walking around. So sometimes that can take away from the whole feel of the situation. So guys, those are my top 5 mistakes that I made on my first big trip. Were they crazy? No, they weren't that crazy. You know, I packed too much stuff, number 1. Number 2, you know, didn't take in mind that my lips are going to dry out and could possibly get sunburnt on spots that are going to be visible most of the trip. And that's just part of the game. It's hard to be able to, you know, prepare for everything. But chapstick made a huge difference, having a little tiny thing with you, you know, because we even had medical and tools, and thankfully we had Dirty D's with us because he had a tool that we didn't have when we needed it, even though we thought we totally had that tool. You know, I broke in the new seat, and that's totally on me. Most people are not going to do that, but I did that, and it was definitely a mistake. I'm glad I had that seat for the pictures I did get. I love it, and that was totally the reason I got it. but you pay the consequences when you do that. So sleeping in too much, same thing. You're paying the consequences of maybe not getting the extra out of the days. Like I said with 5, not being able to stop and, let's say, just stop and smell the roses, because you're not making the time to look at the lake. You're driving by. You're not taking time to breathe in that air, take the fresh moment, and it's a big deal. Yeah, it really is. And I got one more for you guys. I didn't put this in the top 5 because this is kind of a broken record across the board, and even for us because we knew it. Yeah, drink water. And I know. It sounds ridiculous because, duh, stay hydrated, drink water, make sure you're taking in plenty of fluids, stopping for food. All those things should make total sense. But you get in a hurry. Stop, go, and you start to not think about it. At one point, Meeple Rebel said, make sure I drink more water. And I said, you got it. I was drinking more water. We'd stop. I'd down water. I had water in my bag. Or I'd run in. I'm like, hey, I'm going to grab water. He's like, I'm good. No. Remember, you wanted me to make sure you had water. So I grabbed us both waters. And if you're riding with a partner, that's some things to look out for too. If you have the memory to think about yourself in that situation, hopefully you're also thinking about your riding buddy. You know, it's a big thing. Like, luckily enough, we were both able to go. He was able to pack tools. I was able to pack medical. And that helps create that barrier. Even though he was on the bobber, and I still kind of carried his bag, so technically I carried both, right? I don't know. But that was my mistakes, guys, for the big trip. Stuff that I've learned from, and I definitely hope I don't make those mistakes again. But when you're on a trip like that, you learn how to pack a lot tighter. I'll tell you that much. Because when you want to bring home those souvenir shirts, but you don't want to get rid of your biofreeze or your stuff to take away a headache, because that's very important to have on a trip, you figure it out pretty quick. All right, guys, I'm going to finish this up. Hopefully you guys will see this soon, because we do have a few more things to add on. Some of it will be on my channel. Some of it will be on Bombshell Biker's channel, so you should go give her a follow as well. And that's pretty much all I got for you at the moment. Next week, we should have another episode of the Sturgis trip out for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay classy.
Spilling my guts to someone I just met.